If you have ever had brain fog, fatigue, depression, ADHD, hormones, detoxing, ever had miscarriages, you should definitely watch this video. I have spent over thousands of dollars on skincare and facials. I spent thousands of dollars on dermatology appointments, thousands of dollars on supplements, thousands of dollars at a neurochiropractor, and I even switched my diet from vegan to incorporating meat, and I still didn't get to the root of my problem. In today's video, I'm gonna be sharing some crazy results I got from my blood test as well as my gut test. Just because it's common does not mean it's normal. At this point, I have been kind of just in this space of constant brain fog, always tired, and I go in and out of waves. I've had skin issues. I just don't necessarily feel like myself. I was not able to become the best version of myself because I was internally operating from different vitamins and mineral deficiencies. So you're gonna go through my lab results. I basically learned through my lab test that I have a specific gene mutation that does not methylate properly, and the results are me being highly deficient vitamin B12. I'm also deficient in vitamin D, as well as having really high cortisol levels. This is all gonna intertwine, just stay with me. For the past few years, I've just not been feeling like myself. A lot of people have said, Marlene, you've had 3 kids, you have a completely different lifestyle, there's a lot of changes, mourning the old version of you and all of the things. Even with all of those factors in mind, which I do think plays a part into my overall health, I just knew in my gut, and my spirit, that there was just something that wasn't right. So I got my blood drawn 2 years ago at this point, and I kind of mentioned this in another video. If you saw that video first, I was kind of talking about my gut health journey. So I got my labs done, and in my labs, my B12 was severely low, my vitamin D was very low, and I just didn't have the most optimal vitamin and nutrient levels. I also found out in that blood test that I have a MTHFR gene mutation. It's basically a very important and pivotal mutation that means that I'm a person that can't methylate properly.
The most important process that human beings go through 300 billion times a day is a process called methylation, one of my most passionate topics, and that is the most common gene mutation in the world. It's called the MTHFR gene, and what this gene does is it takes folate and synthetic folic acid, these two forms of vitamin B9, and it converts them into the active form. Both go through the same process of being broke down and converted into the usable version called 5-methylfolate. 5-methylfolate has the fast pass ticket to your cellular biology so that that micronutrient goes directly into the cell at a 10-fold increase and allows your cellular biology to function normally.
And just to break down methylation, methylation is basically turning something into something else. So think of a transition. So one of the biggest things that I learned from a naturopath is folic acid is the synthetic version of folate. Folate is it in its natural form. So people like me who have the MTHFR can't necessarily, based off of what this naturopath says, cannot methylate and turn folic acid into folate. And because of this, you can become deficient in certain vitamins and nutrients. So I found that out, was aware of it, stayed away from folic acid for 2 years, dibbled and dabbled in it a little bit. Basically, folic acid isn't anything fortified. So think about breads. Breads have folic acid in it, pasta has folic acid in it, cereal has folic acid in it, crackers, or most type of bread at the grocery store is going to be enriched with folic acid. And people like me can't deal with folic acid, so it can manifest as the things that I mentioned. Brain fog, anxiety, depression. It can affect people who are on the spectrum. It can affect people who have ADHD.
So everything you need to know about MTHFR, folic acid, and homocysteine. So folic acid needs MTHFR, it's an enzyme to help convert it to the active form of folate called 5-methyltetrahydrofolate. It also requires B2 and B6. Many people have dysfunction in MTHFR, so folic acid supplements may not work very well. That's why it's important to consume things like animal foods, which provides the active form, 5-methyltetrahydrofolate, at a bioavailability of about 80 to 90%. So foods like liver, eggs, dairy, and fish do provide it, but it's still difficult to get the recommended intake, just consuming animal foods. Plant foods, it's less bioavailable. It's in a polyglutamated form, so it's only 50 to 70% bioavailable, but things like leafy greens and legumes can provide it. So most people are aiming for 400 micrograms, but optimally, we need somewhere probably around 600 to 800 micrograms in people who have elevated homocysteine levels. Now, why is MTHFR dysfunction an issue if you're supplementing with folic acid? Because you're not getting the active form as much. And it's the active form of folate plus B12 that can help lower homocysteine levels. So methionine synthase requires the active form of folate and B12 to lower homocysteine levels. Now, you can also lower homocysteine by having good choline intake, which gets converted to betaine, which can also lower homocysteine and convert homocysteine to methionine. Okay, and then methionine gets converted to S-adenosyl methionine, which is the universal methyl donor. SAM gets converted to S-adenosyl homocysteine, which is a methylation inhibitor, and SAH is in equilibrium with homocysteine. So when homocysteine levels increase, it will also increase this methylation inhibitor. So that will decrease methylation. If you are lacking, active folate or B12 or betaine or choline, and that can lead to depression, anxiety, a decrease in cognition, poor sleep, headaches and migraines, autoimmune issues, cancer, increase in aging, decrease in myelin, increase in fatty liver, increase in cardiovascular risk like stroke or heart attacks, neural tube defects, preeclampsia, and miscarriages. So what is the solution? Things like methylfolate at 400 to 1,000 micrograms per day. B2, also known as riboflavin, helps stabilize MTHFR enzymes at 1.6 to 2 milligrams per day. The active form of B12 called methylcobalamin at 250 to 5,000 micrograms per day. The active form of B6, pyridoxal 5-phosphate at 5 to 10 milligrams per day. And then magnesium, supplementing 200 to 400 milligrams because magnesium ATP helps convert methionine to S-adenosyl methionine.
And it can just put you in a place of having deficiencies with your B vitamins. So I knew that, found that out 2 years ago. So I, for the past 2 years, have been focusing on incorporating more folate-rich foods and nutrients into my diet. I was also told at this appointment that it would probably be best to start incorporating meat and bring meat back into my diet because my B12 was dangerously low. Long story short, I did not want to give up being vegan. I tried to lock in with my diet. I was unsuccessful with locking in my diet. And then at that point in time, I welcomed meat back into my body just because I was in a place where I was tired, I had brain fog. It was hard for me to keep up. I had crazy mood swings. I just didn't feel like myself and I felt like I was constantly in a place of just trying to keep out through the day. So fast forward to today. So I got another blood test from a company and this company comes to your house. Mind you, what I spent to get those labs from the doctor was around $2,000. At the time, you couldn't just, well, from my knowledge, you can't just ask your doctor to draw your blood. The doctor has to approve you getting your blood drawn in order for you to kind of see where your labs are, which is crazy. There's a company that I found and they test 110 biomarkers that include your hormone levels, your vitamins, nutrients, your glucose, and some others. So I was mainly getting this blood panel because in another video, I was talking about my hair. And as you can see, my hair quality has definitely gotten better. It's gotten curlier, but I was just feeling, hey, this is my third child. I'm postpartum again. Let me try to get ahead of it. Let me just do this blood work so that I can get my hormones level tested. So I went ahead and did it with the intention on just tracking my hormone levels. So I get this blood test back. And in this blood test, I have skyrocket cortisol. My cortisol is all the way across to the highest point. I go down to my vitamins and nutrients and I am severely deficient in vitamin B12 after taking vitamin B supplements as well as incorporating meat back into my diet. I'm also very deficient in vitamin D. I'm looking at this and I'm super disappointed because I'm like, how is this even possible? I've completely changed my diet and I've incorporated red meat into my diet. Sometimes I'll have it between 1 and 3 times. Sometimes I'll skip for 2 weeks. Sometimes I won't have it for a week straight. It kind of just differs, but I've definitely incorporated it enough in my diet to see some type of shift when there was no shift in my vitamin B12 labs from 2 years ago. So let's just take a look into Google real quick and just see what this actually means. So what does B12 do? B12 is crucial for making red blood cells, creating DNA, and maintaining healthy nerve cells. playing a key role in energy production, which I had no energy at all, brain function, and preventing anemia. B12 is important. It's basically the vitamin that makes other vitamins go. And what happens when you're deficient in B12? It causes fatigue, weakness, nerve issues like tingling, and balance problems, anemia, mood changes like depression and irritability, which if you ask some people around me, definitely, that's definitely me, little moody. Memory issues, sore tongue, because B12 is crucial for energy, red blood cell production, and a healthy nervous system. I spent $1,200 at a neurochiropractor because my nervous system was all over the place based upon their scans. There's been so many things I've tried to do over the past few years to just try to feel like myself again. Aside from working out, self-care, support, all of the things. These are all things that I've done, I've invested my time and energy in. And I still did not reach a place where I was truly happy with the results. Okay, now let's look at what happens if you have a vitamin D deficiency. Vitamin D deficiency weakens bones, causes pain, fractures in adults, muscle weakness, and aches, but it also impacts immunity, mood, and can increase risk for heart issues, certain cancers, and falls. So what does vitamin D do? Vitamin D is a nutrient that the body needs along with calcium to build bones and keep them healthy. The body can absorb calcium only if it has enough vitamin D. So if you don't have enough vitamin D, your calcium levels are going to be off. So all of the vitamins that I'm deficient in, mainly vitamin B12 and vitamin D, other vitamins and nutrients can't do their job. So I could do all the self-care, I could do all of the affirmations, I could be working out, I could be getting dressed every day, I could get all of the massages in the world, I could do my makeup, I can do all of the glow up things. However, I'm fighting against myself truly because I'm deficient even when I'm taking supplements and thinking I'm doing the right thing. So how does this even happen, and how is this possible when I'm taking supplements? I'm taking vitamin D3 and K2, and I'm also taking vitamin B12. This is possible because I personally have the MTHFR, and the MTHFR gene mutation often has no symptoms, but when they do, they link it to fatigue, brain fog, anxiety, depression, migraines, blood clots, poor methylation affecting hormones and detoxification, ADD, autoimmune issues, and pregnancy complications like miscarriages. There's so many people walking around this world with all of the things, and this is just from my experience. You're thinking that it's because of your period, or it's because it runs in your family, or it's because of X, Y, and Z. What runs in your family is probably the MTHFR. And I say this as somebody who is optimistic because I know what it looks like to eliminate folic acid and focus on folate. So I know what that did for my body. So I'm optimistically looking at these labs thinking, wow, if I made moves with this one B vitamin, which is folate, what is it gonna be like when I actually get my B12 right? Because this whole time I'm just assuming I'm taking the B12 vitamins, I must be improving this. Like, this must be working because I have been super disciplined with my diet. I have been super disciplined with all of the things as far as health and wellness go. And granted, is it perfect? I think health is subjective because there's really levels. Some people say I eat healthy. I personally don't think that I've been at the top of my game when it comes to conscious eating. However, I know that I'm not eating processed foods. I'm not eating any dairy. I know that I'm doing great. So the MTHFR gene mutation in children often shows up as behavioral and developmental issues. So children that are on the spectrum, children that have ADHD, children have anxiety, irritability, and learning difficulties. This can also affect children that have speech delay. The MTHFR gene, which affects folate processing, can be linked to toddler speech delay and developmental delays, often seen in cases like CFD or related to autism spectrum disorder. Then after getting into my labs and going through my labs with the clinician, I was on Google and I was just going crazy. Do people with the MTHFR have a hard time absorbing B12? Yes, people with the MTHFR mutation often have a hard time effectively using B12 and folate. Even if blood tests show normal levels, because the MTHFR enzymes help convert nutrients, and variants can disrupt the crucial methylation cycle, leading to symptoms of B12 deficiency like fatigue and brain fog. This isn't always about absorption from the gut, but rather the body's ability to process and utilize the vitamin, making methylated B12 a more effective supplement choice. I'm about to calculate and see the whole entire time, as many times as I bought this B12 supplement and I felt like I was doing the right thing because I was following through on buying a supplement that I was deficient in, this whole time, instead of buying B12, there's something else called methylated B12, which is specific for people like me, and I was basically taking the wrong one. I bring this to the attention of others because I'm just wondering how many people on the other side of the screen are thinking that they're doing the right thing and they're actually not. How many people are investing into supplements? How many people are investing into their physician for them to not have all of the information? And I say this because when I saw one physician, they had no idea what the MTHFR gene mutation was. And even when I had my appointment with this new physician, there was no testing for the MTHFR gene mutation in the actual result. I just know when she said the word methylated, it just rang a bell for me because I remember looking up the MTHFR. And if you see anything on Instagram or anything on TikTok, there's a whole bunch of people who sell these vitamins and supplements, which I have actually bought before, and they talk about the methylation process.
Out of 20,000 genes in your body, there are 7 that act like master switches. And when they're dirty, everything else breaks down. After years of research, I identified 7 out of 20,000 genes that have a significant impact upon your health. I call them the Super 7. I chose these 7 genes for 4 reasons. 1, they have a solid backing of research. Number 2, they have genetic variations which are common in the population. This means that many people are walking around with significant mutations and they don't know it, but should. So do you. Number 3, they are heavily influenced by lifestyle, diet, the environment, and nutrition, which means, ultimately, you can do something about it. These genes control how your body handles stress. That's MTHFR, COMT, and MAO-A. How you detoxify chemicals. That's GST. How you respond to foods. That's DAO. Your cardiovascular system. That's NOS3. And your cell membranes and your liver function. That is PEMT. When even one of these genes is dirty, it creates a domino effect. Your stress response breaks down. Your detox pathways get clogged. Inflammation spirals out of control. Here's the kicker. Almost everyone has at least 1 or 2 of these genes born dirty. That means you inherited a genetic variation that makes you more vulnerable. But being born with a dirty gene is not the same as being stuck with a disease. The genetic variation just means you need to be more careful about what you eat, what you're exposed to, and how you live.
So if it wasn't for that information that I saw on TikTok and Instagram, I wouldn't even have known to look more into this. And I feel like this is such a big factor in people's day-to-day lives, and also a big factor in their health plan, how they deal with their supplements, and also just thinking of the people who are walking around anxious and depressed and they're really just deficient in vitamins and nutrients. And I chuckle because nothing about that is funny, but how many of us are actually moving in the wrong direction thinking we're doing the right thing? I'm saying this and I'm finding this information out and I'm actually just posting it without I've ordered all the supplements that are the right supplements, but I actually don't know how it's going to positively affect my body just yet. But I'm bringing this to the attention of my audience just because I just think what a disservice is it and how exhausting is it to continue to invest in trying to find the right thing and then be doing the wrong thing. So the next question I asked is, why are method vitamins better? Methylated vitamins are better because they are already in active form for your body's needs, skipping the conversion steps, making them more bioavailable, especially for those with genetic blocks like the MTHFR mutation, leading to quicker benefits for energy, mood, detox, while supporting DNA health, brain function more efficiently than the standard form. This makes me wonder how much more of a peaceful, fulfilling, stress-free life can people be living when they're not deficient and when they're not investing their time and money and energy into the wrong thing. This also had me wonder, okay, my cortisol levels are extremely high. I also do know that I am not in the most place of peace, but I also don't feel like highly stressed. That could be just because I'm operating from high functioning stress, and I've kind of just been this way for a while with all of my lifestyle changes. However, I went to Google again and I just asked, can having a vitamin D or vitamin B12 deficiency affect stress levels in the body? And it says, yes, both vitamin D and B12 significantly affect stress levels, with deficiencies linked to increased anxiety, depression, and mood issues because they're vital for neurotransmitters productions like serotonin and dopamine, and the nervous system health. So this also kind of ties in with my investment that I had with the neuroscience chiropractor, where I was just wondering, like, why is my body in fight or flight? Why am I doing all of these things? How can I be doing all of the right things, but my body is like holding on to trauma? Not that my body isn't holding on to trauma, but my clinician said that I'm like numbers away from needing to be on a prescription for these vitamins and nutrients that I take every single day. So I, once again, and just speaking about this passionately based off of my own experience, because I believe that there are some people, not everybody, it's not simple for everybody, but I do believe that there's somebody on the other side of this camera who may be depressed, have anxiety, have mood issues, struggle with ADHD, brain fog, even determination, willpower, being disciplined. And I just think with this information, and if they do have the MTHFR, there could be a significant change for the people who are affected. There's so many issues that we unknowingly go through, and we think it's just because that's the way we are, when this very common mutation, I just feel like, isn't talked about enough. And I think amongst lifestyle changes, dietary changes, and just awareness, there's so many things that we can prevent to just have a better quality of life. It was very frustrating to learn this information just because I feel like I've wasted 2 years of time doing the wrong thing, thinking I was doing the right thing. However, it's also been very liberating just learning so much information. And that's why I just like wanted to just bring it out. Just because I think before you do anything, before you do the glow up, before you do all of the investment into your physical self, and I'm speaking from my experience, I can do all of the things, I can have all of the things, all of the material possessions, but I cannot defeat my body when my body is imbalanced. And I just think about all of the time, the money, the effort that I have wasted, not necessarily knowing what my body genetic makeup is. Part of me is speaking from a place of just knowing how beneficial I felt after getting my folate in order, and just knowing and just doing the research and figuring out that all of these deficiencies, mainly the 2 deficiencies that I have, are affecting like 4 other hormones / vitamins and nutrients that are so pivotal in all the other vitamins and nutrients. It makes me excited for my future self. So in this video, I hope that I shared something that may encourage you to look into something. Documenting this journey because I'm very curious to see how my life is gonna improve with this information, and how my life is gonna improve when I actually take the right supplements. So if you guys have any questions, any comments, or if you have any positive experiences with your MTHFR gene journey, whether it be with your kids, whether it be with yourself, go ahead and put it down in the comments below. Let's make this a safe space for people to talk and to learn. Like I said, I do not know everything, so if I misspoke or I said anything, once again, I'm learning. So go ahead and put any tips, tricks, information down in the comments below, and thank you so much. I will see you on the next upload.